So, I just watched The Mule. Clint Eastwood has two separate threesomes in this movie. So, if you just watched my worst films of the year list that came out just a few weeks ago, up there, then you will remember that I put Clint Eastwood's last film, The 1517 to Paris, on that list of the worst films from last year. And oh boy, has he already made it into the 2019 list with this entry. So The Mule is based on a true story, I believe. It was like from an article in some sort of newspaper. It's the story of this 90-year-old man who is a herpetologist. After his shop gets shut down, he needs money to provide for his granddaughter's wedding and for a bunch of other things that all crop up. And so he becomes a drug mule for the cartel. And then it's just kind of following him as he does this, and tensions start to rise between him and his family and then with the cartel. And there's also an investigation going on, and it's really, really bad. Like, all the writing of it is just very wooden, and it just feels like there's no passion behind anything that's going on here. And it's kind of one that's tough to describe certain aspects of it that are bad, because you can't really get it without seeing it, but don't go see it because it's boring. And a boring film is one of the hardest ones to describe, because you just sat there going like, oh, why is this still... So the movie opens with a prologue in 2005 where Clint Eastwood is winning like the Herpetologist of the Year award or something, and because he's going to receive that award, he misses his daughter's wedding. But like, all the award is a crystal vase. I feel like you could have just like written to the people and said, oh sorry, I won't be able to make that, it's my daughter's wedding on the same day. I feel like they would have understood that. Like, this is an easy choice here, Clint. But yeah, the whole 2005 prologue thing though adds literally nothing to the rest of the movie that you couldn't have explained away through just a line of expository dialogue. I mean, basically the only important thing that comes out of it is that he misses his daughter's wedding and therefore has strained relations with his family. And you could have done that just by having someone say, well, he missed my wedding, you know? But even within that scene, and then following on from that, you find out many other times just how much this character hates technology. So in that opening scene, he sees a guy who's like talking about, hey, and here's how you can sell your flowers on the internet. And he's like, the internet. Yeah. And then it cuts to 2017 and he's closing up his business and he's like, goddamn internet put us out of business. And then regularly throughout, when he sees people on their phones, he's like, hey, you kids on your phones, maybe you should pay attention to the world. You're always looking at the screens, man. Yeah, this really is just an old man yells at cloud kind of a movie. After his business gets closed, he's gone to his granddaughter's wedding. Yeah, so he goes from misses his daughter's wedding in 2005, and then 12 years later, it's his granddaughter's wedding. And also, I feel like I should point out that between 2005 and 2017, Clint Eastwood clearly has not aged in that 12-year period. So either he's a really spry-looking 90-year-old, or he was like really looking bad when he was in his late 70s. Yeah, so he's at his granddaughter's wedding, and after there's this whole argument thing, just some Mexican guy called Rico comes up to him and is like, sees on the back of his truck that he has like stickers from various states he's been to, and he's like, oh wow, you've driven all over the place, huh? And Clint Eastwood out of nowhere is just like, yeah, and I never got a ticket. Like, he wasn't asking about that. But because this old man, like this 90-year-old man, has said that he never got a ticket and has stickers from other states on the back of his truck, the guy's like, you know what? You'd make a good drug mule. yeah, every single Mexican character in this movie is a drug dealer, and Clint Eastwood is spending a lot of time with all these Mexican characters, and I have to say, considering that, it is less racist than I thought it would be, so points for being not very racist. Although there is a moment when Clint Eastwood calls some black people Negroes. Yeah, that happens in a 2019 movie. There's this scene where he's walking out of like a shop. He's just carrying this big box of raspberries as he's walking out this shop, and he sees these people working on the motorbikes and like they can't get it to start, and he starts trying to give advice, and son, if you do such and such a thing with a bike, then it'll work. And stands up, and it's a woman working on the bike, and he's like, oh, sorry, I thought you were men. Didn't realise that you were a woman. It's like, we're not women. Well, then who are you? We're dykes on bikes. And then Clint Eastwood, as he's walking away, they try out what he says, and it starts working. And they go, hey, thanks, old man. And he says, you're welcome, dykes. So, I mentioned before about Clint Eastwood having 2 threesomes in this movie, and yes, that is genuinely a thing that happens. One is just in the middle of this montage of him driving and being followed by 2 cartel members who are there to supervise him, and they are just watching him, and he's just at this hotel room and he's dancing around with this woman, presumably a prostitute, and then another one shows up, and the 2 of them are dancing. All 3 of them, are dancing, closes the door, and then kind of cuts to however long later, and the 2 girls are leaving, carrying their shoes in their hands, like, oh, so Clint Eastwood just had a threesome in this movie that he directed and produced. Okay. And then, later on, he gets taken to meet the boss of the cartel, who is played by Andy Garcia, which... It's so weird to see him doing something like this after the last couple of times I saw him were in Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and Book Club. But he's the crime boss, he's terrible. And they say, he gets this girl and says, you're going to take him off to a room and you're going to treat him real nice. And so she takes him there and she's about to start having a good time with him. And then another girl comes in and goes, hey, can I join in? And so Clint Eastwood has 2 threesomes in this movie. I mean, you can't make this up. I am not making it up. There are 2 separate scenes in this movie where 88-year-old Clint Eastwood, playing a 90-year-old man, has threesomes with women who at most are in their 30s. I mean, if you added up the ages of the 4 women that he sleeps with in this movie, you would probably get somewhere close to his age. But as well as the whole Clint Eastwood thing, there's also this plot with Bradley Cooper and Michael Pena as the DEA agents who are tracking down the cartel and trying to figure out who the Mule is. And it genuinely feels like they are in a different movie. Like, I feel like they only saw the bits of the script that they were in and had no idea what the rest of the movie was, and so they were just like really just they're there to pick up a quick, easy paycheck. It feels like they put in no effort into their scenes. Like, half the time they're just sitting in a car. As well as that, as Lawrence Fishburne plays like the head of the DEA. Literally every single one of his scenes takes place either in the same office or out in the corridor, except for one scene at the end when he's at the court. So I feel like Lawrence Fishburne he had like a couple of days free, and they had him on set for like a day and a half. It just really doesn't gel with any of the rest of the movie, and it's just there to pad out the runtime. Which, good grief, they do enough of that. I mean, the rest of the movie, I'd say about 30 minutes of this movie, probably, of this 2-hour movie, is made up of Clint Eastwood driving along in his truck singing. Genuinely, it's just a lot of really long, annoying scenes of Clint Eastwood singing along to like old Rat Pack tunes as he's driving through the desert. Someone somewhere paid for this movie. Like, someone said, you know what, this is the movie we are going to invest our money in. This is what's going to bring in big audiences. So yeah, this movie is really, really bad. I cannot say just how boring it is, and how misguided it is to have Clint Eastwood have 2 threesomes in it, and for him to call a black family Negroes, and for him to talk to the dykes on bikes. I mean, do not go see this movie, is what I'm trying to say. There's a bunch of stuff out right now that you could go see, so please do not make it The Mule. Make it so that I'm the only one who had to suffer through this. Don't do this to yourself. Thank you so much for watching my video about The Mule. If you for some reason went to see this terrible movie, let me know what you thought of it in a comment below. Click up here to subscribe, or click on here to watch more videos by me. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go take a long shower so that I don't have to think about Clint Eastwood with his shirt off anymore.